believe me, my a little bit of family background on my end. My cousins, the Bundys standoff, the Bundy, the ranchers. So believe me, I know how easy it can be to get wrapped up in that. And that isn't where light comes in. Light comes in when you can talk to people about possibility and thinking differently and being open to, I had a really hard time when I first started getting professional coaching to be willing to change my lenses, right? Because what I saw the world as was how I saw the world. I didn't want to change that or give that up. But my life changed when I was willing to allow somebody I trusted to coach me on seeing the world in a different perspective. I still retain all the skills that I learned in basic training in my deployment to protect myself and my family. Right. And I'm also free from the worry and the anxiety that I've got to, I'm on alert 24/7. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I mean, I make the same sort of comparison a lot, and it was a kind of a paradigm shift for me because I'm 80% disabled through the VA with TBI and post-traumatic stress, and for a long time, I was letting it kind of define who I am. Oh, well, you're not going to be able to do this because of X, Y, and Z. And then I started to look at it and say, well, I can harness this stuff and I can focus it into a positive. Like you said, the hypervigilance. I know what's going on around me. I know what's going on around my family. And it's almost like I make this comparison sometimes, and it sort of pushes people a little bit, but I almost look at it as a superpower. There's downfalls to it, there's drawbacks to it, but if you can focus it, harness it, and embrace it, there's ways that you can, move forward and apply it appropriately, I guess is what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So tell me about this interview process and everything. You're looking at veterans from every era. Is this a local project? Is this, much broader? How are you approaching this thing?
Well, yeah, I'm glad you asked the question because when I first started it, I really just launched it and put it out there on inspiration. I was sitting here doing work. I'm inspired to do what I do with Rush Club, but there's also that's like a personal project. There's no service there. And I viewed this as service. How can I be of service to my warrior brothers and sisters?
Right.
So I was inspired to put it out there, and then it just blew up in my face. I was like, oh, okay, there's a lot more interest in this than what I anticipated. So, I even said in my little video on Facebook that I'm looking for local Phoenix area veterans to interview because I don't have any funding for it, but I really wanted to do this project. Well, after it blew up, now I'm putting together a GoFundMe because I want to do it right. Because this could be something. I know this can be something that people can use to study and research. Because we're asking questions, I think, different than what they've ever been asked. So I don't want to half-ass it. I'm kind of a person who doesn't really half-ass anything.
Right. Go big or go home sort of deal.
Yeah. And then if I can't do it myself, I'll find a team or put together some people that can help.
Right.
So I started getting emails from Florida, from North Carolina, I'm in the West Coast in Phoenix, and I'm getting emails from all the way from California to West Coast to East Coast with veterans with different stories. And I'm like, man, if I'm going to do this project justice, I need to see if I can get some funding, get a film crew together, and go film it. The initial idea was to do a round table, just to find one veteran from each era, come into a round table and have a conversation.
Right.
I changed the thought of that, though, because I'm afraid that if we do that, it's end up going to be just a bullshit session.
Yeah, I mean, we tend to go down that route pretty quickly.
Exactly. So I'm like, okay, maybe the project will end with the round table, but instead what I want to do is go and meet these different veterans individually with a film crew and just sit down and do an interview. Laid back sort of interview, one veteran to another, and just ask them the questions. Like I said, I don't need to know details about their deployment, but I want to know details about coming home. What was that like? Were people excited to see you? Just really get inside their world of what it was like to come home. and just kind of kick it from that angle, and then let transpire whatever transpires. Kind of like your radio show.
Right.
If it's authentic, it'll be said. I don't want to force the conversation. I'm a veteran. I'm doing this as a service project. I have no agenda to fulfill. I have a theory, but that theory will be disproved or approved off of open, authentic conversation.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we need on, just a little side note here. I mean, we need to approach all of our issues, both inside the community and outside the community, with this ability to say, hey, let's look at the big picture here. Where's this going? Where's it coming from? I just absolutely love that approach. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and so that's the idea. And so then the questions are going to be all in that regard. The first couple of questions are just going to be to establish some sort of understanding of who they are. Because if they didn't deploy, then they're going to have, it's going to be a different perspective. Now, at this point, I'm only interested in communicating with people who have deployed. But the questions will be, okay, did you see direct combat?
Right.
And if they did, then we're going to continue to interview, obviously. And if they didn't, we'll still continue to interview, because I know people who didn't see direct combat and still had a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, my battle buddy who took his life in 2012 never saw direct action, like point, shoot, drop somebody. We were all hit with small arms fire every once in a while, or RPGs, or mortars, but we weren't door kickers. That wasn't our mission.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously that doesn't just affect the ones who are highly active. And again, that goes back to my assumption that what you actually do on your deployment really doesn't have a whole lot of bearing on how things are when you get home, right, or your overall experience.
Right.
I also know there are guys, somebody brought up this good point as well that I have to be responsible to make sure I keep in mind. What's different about this conflict is some of our warfighter brothers and sisters have been deployed many, many, many times.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe that's the effect, right? Maybe there's a cause to that. Our grandparents that went to World War II were deployed for 2 years, pretty much, and then they came home, and they didn't have to go back again.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these guys have been deployed way longer than 2 years, not all at once, but they're home, they're gone. They're home, they're gone. That's just a major stress on a family.
Yeah, I've wondered a lot about that over the years, that reset mentality, because it is a different world. And, having to constantly, reset the way your body operates, can affect so many different things. I mean, even you just look at, for our civilian listeners out there, that change from going from a first shift job to, a graveyard shift job. It can dramatically affect your body. So imagine that for a year at a time. I think there would be a cumulative type impact there.
Yeah. And so, that might go way beyond my own abilities of just having theories.
Right.
Again, just so everybody knows, and I don't remember if I said this in the beginning, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a therapist, I'm just watching and observing. And I don't, frankly, I think if you remove if people have an idea and they disqualify themselves because they don't have a piece of paper, we're probably missing a lot of valuable gold. And that's not just in the psychology world or psychiatry, psychotherapy, whatever you call it, right? Mm-hmm. In anything. How many times do we hold ourselves back because we don't think we're valuable enough because maybe somebody doesn't have a piece of paper that says, yeah, you can do this?
Mm-hmm.
For example, Rush Club. I'm the last guy that should be the CEO of Rush Club, and yet here I stand. I'm a high school dropout. We're currently negotiating a contract for the Las Vegas Strip. So in 5 to 10 years, if I have it my way and I keep working and things go the way they're going, I could be standing side by side with Dana White and the Fertitta brothers.
Right.
And I'm a high school dropout. And at one point, that meant something to me, being a high school dropout, that I'm not good enough. And then when I made the choice that that's a load of crap, I can do whatever I want to do. I don't need a piece of paper to tell me that I graduated college, therefore I can.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I got a little sidetracked there, but that's why I'm not willing to not share what I think or my theories, just because I don't have a piece of paper to say I'm a psychologist or a psychiatrist.
Oh, I absolutely love it. And, again, it's that big picture mentality. And in facing these issues, it takes every single one of us. It doesn't just take the doctors, and it doesn't just take the lawmakers, and it doesn't just take the VA. I mean, it takes every single person out there to say, okay, this is what I think's going on, and I'm willing to try something to figure it out. And that, to me, that's exactly what you're doing here.
Yeah, thanks. That was what the goal was. And not going to lie, sometimes there's nerves when you put yourself out there. Who's going to say what to you or try to discredit you? But I ignore those and drive forward anyway. And based off the response, I'm on the right track. People are excited to get involved with this process because it's not been done this way before.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just as soon as I heard, even just a smidgen of what you were talking about, I'm like, yes, this guy's getting it. He's on the right track here. And absolutely, man. I want to be involved in any way, shape, or form that I can, because this is, I think, very well needed. And really, it's twofold for me. Okay, one, we're addressing an issue, and we're actually, experimenting a little bit and trying to figure out root causes. But then I also have this personal, almost narrative or belief that every veteran out there, every single warfighter out there, whether you deployed, you didn't deploy, whatever, if you've worn the uniform, in defense of this country, you're a part of history, and we have stories to tell. And like you said, there's so much focus on the stories of combat and all that, and those are great. Those are extremely valuable, and we need to encourage those. But nobody really talks about, okay, this is really what it was like coming home, and this is what I went through. Those are part of history as well, and we have to get those recorded before that history is gone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Fantastic. So what's your next approach here? I mean, obviously you said this blew up really quickly. How are you approaching this now, and what can we expect moving forward?
Yeah. So my next approach is to I'm setting up a GoFundMe for the project, just so I can I'm happy to contribute my time and donate my time where I can, but then the film crew most likely won't. And it won't take a whole crew, like somebody do documentary. And then the funding will allow for me to travel if I need to travel.
Right.
Like I said, East Coast to West Coast, people want to share.
Mm-hmm.
So the funding will allow me to travel to those places to get those interviews. And then from there, I'll just let things, I try to just let things progress the way they progress. I've found that if I work hard, biggest thing for people to understand is to make sure you have a very clear objective. So the objective, first of all, is to get these interviews to find the solution, or at least get us closer to the solution. Not just raise awareness. I'm sick and tired of all the raise awareness challenges that are out there.
Right.
Because it doesn't actually contribute to the cost to anything.
Mm-hmm.
So discover the solution or get closer to it of what might be the cause of it, and then get it distributed, get it out there. So the documentary or the filming of it, if I go do this and it's just sitting on my desk and I have all of these interviews sitting on my desk and nobody sees them, it doesn't do anybody any good.
Right.
So if we can find a network or even an online web publication that will show them that has good reach, then I'd like to get those interviews there so people can start collecting it. And then I'm even happy to hand over the findings to those who do have specific training in behavior, behavior psychologists or whatever, so they can go through and sift through the interviews and find the key components where they match up. So all of those things are kind of where I want this to go.
Absolutely, man. And again, I'm really excited about this project, and I think it is going to take us to places that, really, like you said, have never been looked at before. And my hat's absolutely off to you for taking your time and again, putting yourself out there to say, hey, this is what I think, and I'm not just going to talk about it. I'm going to get involved and actually do something about it. Phenomenal stuff. If folks want to get involved or if they have questions, what do they need to do to reach out to you?
Oh, yeah. They can email me directly. The email I'm using to collect all the all the people reaching out is AJ at rushclubnation.com.